So yeah, the question is, who knows already OpenDaylight in the public? Like, can you mostly everybody? So no, I'm not going to spend time about what OpenDaylight is at this moment, because this has been already for a while. So this is more like a community and technical update of what's going on in OpenDaylight nowadays. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, any question that you have about OpenDaylight, because I have been working there for a while, but you can also ask. I'm more like a kind of integration test person. So the kind of software I write is mostly test software. So yeah, anything that you may ask about these kind of topics, I can also answer. So yeah, let's start this. So these are the topics I want to cover today. The first one is something called what we call the release streamline. The second is a community kind of report, how the community looks like today. Then we have some priorities in terms of the community and the project. And finally, some of the use cases that we try to achieve still in OpenDaylight. So with no more delay, I want to show you the first topic, which is the release streamline. So I want to show you actually something interesting that has happened in maybe in the last 3 releases. This is Carbon release. This is like maybe more than a year now, but not like too long. So more than a year now, we had this kind of controller kind of architecture. Well, the architecture is very standard. There is the service abstraction layer. You have all the plugins and you have all the application, but you can see the amount of application and components that are in OpenDaylight in this particular release, right? In Carbon release. Now I'm going to show you this. This is the Oxygen release, which is the version that we just released very recently. And you can observe already some difference from before. And this is the new release that we are planning for, for Fluorine. This is for after summer, right? So you go back and then we replay this again. You can see here, then you can see here, and now you can see here. So do you see any difference? Well, there are differences. The main difference is that you can see there is a really streamline in terms of application, plugins, something we are releasing together in OpenDaylight. So this is a huge difference, right? I mean, there was a time in the OpenDaylight where every release were multiplying the number of applications, the number of contributions. That at some point got a peak, and then after some time, probably Carbon release, like more than a year now, it was the other way around. The trend was actually to get less application, less contribution. I mean, at least in terms of the software components. Now, what is the explanation for this? Right, so as an open source community, there is an explanation for this. So the explanation is, well, you have here, like OpenDaylight is already a mature project. I mean, at least now we're running like I don't know, 4 years or something like that. So with all this time, it's like only successful and one consumed project in the end survive. No, this is a real open source thing. Nobody really, try to put things on top of anybody. So in the end, only those applications that have real value, that are really well used by people, by users or other communities, those survive. So that's a normal, trend. The second is that, yeah, we got over time less contributors, so there are less contributors, but very focused now. They're in the same exactly trend. We have less, but these people, they know exactly what they want. They see the value of some of the application, and they put all the effort in this application instead of doing so many things that we did in the past. And then there is also the quality over quantity. Even in the beginning, there was a lot of things about, innovation, try to get new things, now there is a point where we are more worried as a community about the quality of the thing, right? So this thing needs to get into eventually production networks. Some of them there already. And we have a lot of pressure to push the quality over the quantity. So that's also another reason. Now, there is another reason, especially when you saw the last two, the reduction of the projects. The second reason is the managed versus self-managed model. We introduced that we introduced this concept in this release cycle. So now the managed projects, or what we call managed projects, is those projects that have a solid foundation and a healthy community in OpenDaylight. And then self-managed projects are the opposite. So there are these projects that they don't have a strong community. They are not very much well supported, either because they are very new, or either because they are old and nobody really uses them much, right? So for this reason, we are the self-managed. Now, the way we figure out how to differentiate and treat this in the community is that the managed projects will have like 3 checkpoints in a release cycle. And these managed projects are going to be automatically released every 6 months, which is the cadence that we have today. While the self-managed projects today, they don't have any requirement. So you come new to OpenDaylight or you are one of these old projects, you can still, do your own release cycle with no really checkpoint, nothing. And you are your own responsibility. You can release anytime, and then with a few effort, we can include you in the official distribution. There will be always like user information, whether you are a managed or self-managed, so there is a user awareness, whether you are, in which group you are, but in the end, we can release everything as before. But this is a way that we really like, because now the people that we have been working as a community, we focus in certain projects that we know they are important, and then the rest we are still welcome, right? These are open source. We like to welcome new contribution, new things, but they are treating a little bit differently, so and releasing a lot of the common effort that is in the community. So that's really a good model for us. Any question you can take any time. So this is very, yeah. Now I'm going to show a community report, which is, how the community has, I think this is based in, in some data that, for instance, this one is showing different periods of time. You can see some statistics there. This is from Viteria. So we use Viteria as an external kind of application company that connect to our Gary system, the patch system and everything, and then it's pulling all these statistics and so on, right? So you can see in different periods of time, like what are the number of commits, like how many patches you put in the system, and then how many authors, no? And now you see, this is clear the trend, no? We're going to say, while the commits, it didn't really going down, like you have a large, large amount of commits per quarter, the amount of authors now are less. And this is a little bit the trend that I say now. There are now less companies in OpenDaylight contributing, but now they are very focused. So very focused means that maybe the same people or maybe a few new people, they are spending a lot of time in OpenDaylight. And that's why you don't see a decrease on the number of commits. But still the authors or the amount of people that are normally contributing are less today than before. Okay. Affiliation, this is the question. Who is contributing today in OpenDaylight? Which companies? What is this? Well, you can see here this, right? At least in the last report from first quarter of 2018, I think Red Hat is number 1. And there was a switch there. So OpenDaylight, you have followed this from the beginning. In the beginning, Cisco was overwhelming. So they have a big majority of developers doing work. Now this changed. Now Cisco have less, and now Red Hat took over clearly here. The Linux Foundation has people also working there, especially on the infrastructure and that kind of things, not really developing the software, but helping in the project. So that's why you see them there. And then you have some companies like Ericsson, I know Saif, HP, Lumina, so still some other, right? Now the priorities. What are the priorities now in the OpenDaylight? The community goals today, these are some of the discussion we have this release. It's a span contribution based, like especially on the kernel projects, right? So we had this thing that we have something called kernel project, which is the framework of the OpenDaylight today. And we see that those areas, there are very few people, very good people actually, very skillful, but very few. So we try to see if we can increase the amount of people contributing in these areas, right? And some of the good idea is reaching the downstream, right? We know OpenDaylight is being used by downstream people, communities, companies. So we try to reach and say, oh, you want this project to continue in a healthy way? We need to get some contribution here, right? This is important for us. The second is to improve the release model, and this we already done by the managed versus self-managed that I explained before. This was very good. The third thing is improve first impression documentation. Well, OpenDaylight has been always blamed by that. Like our documentation compared to other open source, maybe not open source, but anyway, it never was very good for the first, user or developer, doesn't matter. When you first see this documentation, you don't feel like very attracted and also very easy to follow. So we are changing all that. Like we already have, for example, a group of people that we are contributing, myself included, in updating all the front documentation, at least for, and I think today the projects are very aware. So today the project, they are producing all the managed. The managed that you see there, self-managed is self-managed, but managed project today, they are producing quality documentation in OpenDaylight. So the only thing we need to do now is the common that nobody does by itself. This is the one that we are improving now. Infrastructure efficiency, well, this is again, we need to, because we have less people and everything, and the project itself needs to be more efficient as well, so we try to also do some adjustment there in the number of jobs that we have in the past, reduce all that, and also reduce infrastructure without, impacting quality and things like that. And then we have this, LFM has this push for collaboration, no? Whatever belongs to LFM, we have. So today we have found that we have a strong, or at least collaboration with OpenFV. OpenFV is this project in LFM that does integration and tests of everything. So they are currently using OpenDaylight, I believe some other controllers too, and they do integration with it. So we have some project also to integrate with them. It's not new, so we have in the past release, we started already, and it's things like, for instance, when we release something, or even before release, we pass something to OpenFV, they can test, and then we get some feedback. Something is wrong, then we don't release, or things like that, right? And then there is another second integration I was thinking is because they have all the bare metal kind of labs. For some of the testing that we need to do in the controller, we are using the labs that are in OpenFV. So there is very good understanding and communication with OpenFV, in particular this project. So yeah. Community goals, or technical goals, that too. So I put these ones because I think these are discussed and also very important. The first one is very important for us now, the cluster stability. No, I mean, it has been there from the beginning. Actually, in the beginning, we didn't have any cluster. Then we start to introduce cluster, but it's a feel in the community that we need to improve this a lot. So now there is a lot of effort, not just writing more application, more feature. No, forget about that. Now let's work in the cluster altogether to make this, scalable and stable. The second thing, it's more technical. The Java great strategy. Apparently now Java is releasing more often, so now we need to dig up with that. So there is some community discussion now. Improve developer documentation, the same thing I said before, and then there is a lot of things now to create more tooling, more and more tooling in our infrastructure. This is where these people in the foundation help, but it's not only them. There is people in the companies helping building all this tooling that we need for, especially for fast release and fast verification. This is what we want to do now. And to be honest, all this self-managed and managed differentiation is going to help us clearly to release faster and more stable than before. When you need to watch 50 projects, imagine, now it's only 15 or 20, it's much easier now to release, to coordinate and to get the thing much easier. Anyway, and finally, this is the use case. So what are we, with all this reduction, right? What are you doing today, right, in OpenDaylight? Well, apart from all the reduction and all this streamline, I will still focus in this. I put just very high-level use cases. I'm not going to enter in super details and everything, but this I put just 3. So the first one is the classic network abstraction, right? So this is OpenDaylight is just a controller, so we don't, for instance, develop like a data plane. And in the traditional network abstraction use case, what we try to do is to exactly that. I mean, you have a traditional network or white box. This is more the physical network. And then we try to, abstract all this. When you're talking about traditional network device, all behave differently. So we try somehow to abstract that. And then from the white box point of view, you can use OpenFlow or some other protocol that is more on the control plane. But still you want to abstract all that information for the application itself. So it's all a network abstraction kind of model. So this is the more basic fundamental use case, right, that you can do in OpenDaylight. Try to leverage all the plugins that we have today. Some examples are put there, but you can leverage all these plugins to run your own abstraction. Now, write your own abstraction or use an existing abstraction. Well, my experience in OpenDaylight is that I have different attempts today to get an abstraction for all this. But it's difficult, no? Because when you are talking with the people carriers, people that really have hardware, everyone has his own, opinion. What should be the abstraction level? What is the information that I need from my network? This is important. This is not important. So in the end, I see that all the interface that you see OpenDaylight to existing orchestration or cloud, in some cases, is kind of not well defined, and something that you can work with your customer or that kind of things. So yeah, this is the basic use case. Now, going a little bit higher is the data center networking, obviously. So now, what happened with the data center networking, you see OpenDaylight there, is like, yeah, you can obviously write Neutron plugin instead of OpenStack and Kubernetes. I think these are the two that we are focusing today, or we implement today. And then based on that, you can do some networking, right? So this is a little bit this is the data center. But these are, the Kubernetes is recent, so it's not something that we are doing for a long time. The OpenStack one, it has been very old, so it has been from the beginning. From the beginning, we have the OpenStack integration and the OpenDaylight kind of thing. Yeah, and this is a use case that obviously, yeah, many people in communities pursuing this use case, especially the Red Hat and some others, Ericsson, I guess, too. So this is really the use case that there. The advantage here is the interface. So the interface that you see in Northbound is much more well-defined, right? It's not anything. It's something that comes from the orchestration. It's OpenStack or the Kubernetes or something, so you know exactly at least what is the kind of policy, the thing that you need to do. The first use case is more open, but this one is more self-contained, but still you see all the complexity here as well. Yeah. And then the last one is, well, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is the ONAP project. This is also in the LFN. It's a new recent project in LFM. It came from, yeah, I think AT&T and some other operators. They actually came up with this big system, super big system. It's a big orchestration, right? This big orchestration apparently can manage any flow that an operator can have today, right? Any workflow as a service provider you can have in your network, you could do through this big system, right? And part of this big system, the ONAP project, is what you see there is the SDNC and then the application control. There are some controllers there for networking. And today, those controllers are based in OpenDaylight. Now, I have to say that all the application that is written for OpenDaylight in this particular environment is done in the project ONAP itself. So we in OpenDaylight, well, we don't hold these applications that are running in this particular environment or ecosystem. So, but I don't know actually there is any strategy at some point to move these applications to OpenDaylight or just leave them in the ONAP project. But yeah, it's true that they are using there and there are requirements. This is a downstream community for us. It's an open source community, so there are requirements that eventually come to us from them, like, at least from the platform point of view. They develop application, but from the platform point of view, we have technical requirements, clustering, resilience, all these kind of things coming from there. So ONAP is a downstream community that it holds the application code for the SDNC application, all the application that you can see here for controller. I think the two in the middle, I'm not sure about the third one, but at least the AppC and the SDNC, all these applications are today OpenDaylight based. So they use the OpenDaylight platform with the plugins and everything, but then they write their own application in the platform, right? So the model is like, yeah, they consume, whenever we release something, they consume whatever plugin things that, because OpenDaylight is modular, no? You will release something, but then you can choose which components you can do. So they choose the component that they want to use, and then the application that they write in OpenDaylight is done in this project. It's Java, it's still compatible with everything that we do, but it's done in the context of the ONAP project. This is a little bit this is the downstream company, like Lumina, my company, right? So we get the open source platform, and then we write our own application. Some of the application, because they are customer specific, or because whatever reason, we write ourselves and then we wrap all together, right? So this is the same model. They just take the platform, they write their own application for ONAP. This is just ONAP, and then they just ship it all together, right?
They're open source.
Oh yeah, this is full open source. There is very big project here.
So that code is available through the ONA.
Yeah, so all this SDNC code, yeah, for control is available through ONA, not through OpenDaylight. We have two components with OpenFV. They are consumers of our product, not in the way of ONAP. ONAP takes our platform and write their own application, and that's part of their deliverable. For OpenFV, they are not writing any application. They just take whatever we give them, right? And then they just do some installation packaging for each, right? So they can package this together with any OpenStack, whatever system they have there, right? So that's what they are doing today. Now, that's the delivery or the release kind of interaction, but then besides that, the one that I mentioned before with the CI/CD interaction, we are two communities, so we are collaborating each other, like, getting all this process in place. They give us some hardware access, we give them access to, very snapshot or very, very early releases that they can test. So all this kind of, Well, thank you very much, because I know this is hard. I mean, this time age already. I mean, seeing still people here is really. Thank you for staying.